Welcome all, welcome one and all to the most influential hour of your Philadelphia sports day. Welcome to the most beneficial hour or so of your Philadelphia sports day. Welcome to the Final Word with MattyB here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Again, with your boy MattyB on the call on this lovely Thursday evening, October the 24th, our final show of the week as we wrap up yet another glorious Philadelphia sports week in the only way we know how. Big show. It's always a big show because it's always great to be here. We got some stuff tonight. We got your day of Philadelphia sports history. We got a little bit of Eagles-Bengals. Little Eagles-Bengals talk, not much. We are going to talk some Flyers tonight as there's been a lot of fallout from the 1-5-1 start. Rightfully so. We're going to talk about some Sixers news. That's right. You don't really get a chance much for me to talk Sixers. And tonight I am going to speak about the Sixers. And maybe not in the way you're prepared to hear, but I am going to speak some Sixers. We got another prospect spotlight segment tonight. We're going to spotlight another Flyer prospect player. And of course, you got my card review. So we got a lot to do. And first thing first, a programming note here on the network. Tonight at 6:30 was supposed to be the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn, but we had a scheduling conflict. We rescheduled for tomorrow afternoon around 3:30 right now, tentatively. So if you can make it for that, great. If not, please catch it at your convenience. It'll be on our YouTube. It'll be all over our social media, or say my social media, as we are still trying to get... So just a little transparency. Facebook, I guess, changed their algorithm a little bit, and they won't let a streaming service stream off of a Facebook page unless the page has been active for 60 days and has more than 100 followers. And we're, as I said, we're standing everything up from the ground, so we don't quite fit either of those metrics. So we're trying to kind of wait it out and get to where we need to be. But once we will be streaming off of the It's a Wrap Facebook page. But you can still visit it as we are continuing to build that. We are also streaming off of our YouTube. This is the main page right here. This is the bread and butter. This is what's going to keep MattyB out the poorhouse. All right? This is what I need. I really need the support here on this page. So please like and subscribe on the YouTube page. Tell a friend. Have a friend tell a friend, have a friend tell a friend tell a friend. You know the drill. We really need the help. And, of course, we're going out on Twitter as well. So like on all those platforms, please. It would really greatly help us as we grow. And as I said, we're going to do the Birds Blast tomorrow. We got some stuff coming up this weekend. We got two Clear the Ice programs on Saturday and Sunday. Sal will be with you on Saturday, and I will have you on Sunday. So we're going to be doing some more Clearing the Ice. And we're Birds Blasted. And we're only about a week now. I guess a little bit over a week from the debut of a brand new show here on the network. And that is the Wraparound with Sal G. Sal, as I mentioned earlier in the week, is rightfully so getting an opportunity to spread his wings and host his own show. It's going to be a weekly show here on the network on Mondays at 7 for now. And we'll see where we go with that. But I'm looking forward to it. I know Sal's looking forward to it. We're going to have fun with it. As I said, he definitely deserves the opportunity for all the work he's done with me over the last almost going on a year now. So Sal will be debuting here in a little over a week. And again, as I mentioned, I've mentioned this before. If you are a content creator, if you are a wannabe or a would-be, I shouldn't say wannabe, but a would-be talk show host person, and you want to give it a shot, reach out, contact me through my social media accounts, and we'll start the dialogue and we'll go from there. Someone's got to give you a chance. Someone's got to give you an opportunity, and that's what I can give you. And that's all I can give you right now. It's the only promise I can give you is an opportunity. But somebody gave me one once, and definitely think you should do it. So please reach out to me and let me know. Fred, tell me you are going to agree with the Sixers handling Embiid. Am I going to agree with the Sixers handling of Embiid? Are we speaking of the... I'm confused, Fred. I really don't know which way you're trying to drive me into this. I do have... That's exactly what we're going to talk about. We're not talking about necessarily the basketball isms of the Sixers. We are going to get into the NBA and their new policy when it comes to snuffing out load management and snuffing out program losses because, I love that. And I think all four majors should do that. And I don't know if any other teams or sports, well, the Phillies did it. Phillies do it all the time on Sundays, right? I wish more sports incorporated that into their CBA. Now, of course, that would be the agreement between the league and the union and all that, but kudos to the NBA. We're going to get into some of that here in a minute, Fred. But yeah, you hit it on the head, Fred. Mike Lauro checking in. Matt, what's up? Mike, how are you been? It's a long time no talk. I hope all is well. And miss working with you too, Mike. Actually, miss working with you a lot. Actually, me and Mike, we never worked together. Well, we worked together on the post games, but never as much as we should have. I wonder how my life would have worked out if me and Mike Lauro would have worked more together instead of me and me. I wonder how that would have worked out. I wonder if there's a partner out there for me. If there's somebody that I could be. Is there a Long Ranger to my Tonto? Is there a Fonzie to my Richie Cunningham? I mean, is there somebody out there like that for me? Is there somebody that I could play off of? Because I wonder what the world would be with a MattyB partnership with somebody on the air. Me and Al work together pretty well, but Al's nauseatingly, man, Al drives me crazy when I work with him. So I wonder if there's anybody out there. I wonder how that would be. The MattyB show with a partner. I don't know. That would be pretty fun. Dude, me and you would be perfect too. I think we would. And that's, Fred, I don't know if you saw my first show here on the network. I don't even know. Did I say it then? I think I did. My first show on the network about 2 weeks ago. One of the things I said when I was lamenting over, we're closing the chapter of EOP, was that I regretted that we never really worked together at all. And for obvious reasons, I literally joined the network when you were going into the situation that you were dealing with your son. And we never actually were able to kind of come around and meet up and work together. So that's actually one of my regrets in the 3 years that I was with EOP, was that I never got a chance to work with the great Fred Burns. So yeah, that would be fun, Fred. And I wouldn't know how to work. I mean, I've only met you once. I mean, we did that live remote back in April. But yeah, I wonder how that would be. That'd be fun. You're right, Fred, though. I think we would be great. But anyway, let's get going. Got a lot to get through and not too much time to do it in. We're going to start off with like we do every week, or still in that weekly mode, every night here on the program, and that is Your Day in Philadelphia Sports History, a fun little segment I've been doing for a very long time. And I go back to the year 1959 for this night in Philadelphia sports history, because it was an influential night. It was a historic, groundbreaking, franchise-altering night for one of the Philadelphia sports franchises. A team that no longer plays in the city, but at the time they did. In this night on 1959, the Philadelphia Warriors and their 7 foot, what was he? 7'1"? Yeah, 7'1" center by the name of Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain's very first game as a Philadelphia Warrior was on this night back in 1959. He wasn't dealing with load management. Well, maybe he was, but in a different way. But for another story, another time. But yeah, Wilt Chamberlain made his Philadelphia Warrior debut tonight against the New York Knicks in a game where he played. Let's get his final line scores from that game in 1959. 48 minutes, 43 points, 28 friggin' rebounds, and 1 assist. That was his numbers for the night. 28 friggin' rebounds in one game. The Sixers won 118-109. Wilt Chamberlain would not foul out of this game, and that would actually start a streak that would take him through 1,045 consecutive games without fouling out of an NBA game. A streak only second best to Moses Malone, who actually, played for the Sixers as well. So, and of course, Wilt was principal among. Now, when the Warriors left, they left with Wilt, but then the Sixers brought him back. When the Sixers came, or when the Nationals left Syracuse, became the Sixers. So the Warriors left to go to San Francisco, ultimately becoming the Golden State Warriors. The Syracuse Nationals could not continue operating in Central New York because the NBA was growing and they couldn't afford it. So they moved from Syracuse to Philadelphia and became the Sixers. The Sixers then were able to reacquire Wilt Chamberlain back from the Warriors. And Wilt Chamberlain was instrumental in leading the Sixers to a great little run. And if I look back on Sixers lore, and again, you might not look at me and think I'm the smartest basketball guy because I never talk about basketball, but I am very smart with basketball. But basketball when it was pure, basketball when it was a sport, not what it is today. But when I look back at Sixers history, you got to start with Wilt. Then you go to Doc. Then you got to give it to Barkley, man. You got to go Charles Barkley. And then you got AI. But now, has there been a player since AI that we can hang our hat on and say, you know, he's the guy? And don't give me Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid's a loser. Straight up loser. So that's how I look at Sixers icons throughout the decades. Wilt is the start of it all, and then here we are. And AI, it died with AI back in the early 2000s or in the late 2000s because we have not had that player since. And mainly, or that might be one of the main reasons why we still have not won a championship since 1983 in a game that I watched, in a parade that I attended as a 10-year-old young man living in Mayfair. So on this night, though, Wilt Chamberlain started his first game for the Philadelphia Warriors. So congratulations to Wilt Chamberlain. Had a great career and all-time Sixer, all-time basketball player, all of that. And now we move on to what Freddie Burns was alluding to earlier. I am going to talk about the Sixers and the drama surrounding Joel Embiid. And maybe some of you guys can help me out and fill in some of the missing pieces here because I don't know if I really know this whole story. So the Sixers have deactivated, put him on IL. I mean, is that what they've done? Is he on IL officially? Or he's not ready? I mean, what is his designation? But he's not playing. And the NBA is launching an investigation because they feel that the Sixers might be in violation of the NBA's new rule when it comes to for load management. You cannot, apparently, anymore in the NBA, rest a player or designate a player as hurt without some sort of, I guess, formal injury report or formal repercussion of that. Or you can't just rest a guy to rest a guy. You have to play him because it's hitting at the NBA where it hurts the most, and that's in the wallet because people are paying big money, to go to games where they're featuring Joel Embiid, LeBron James, so on and so forth. And the Sixers, starting the season, which again is weird to me because I know Joel played in the Olympics. He played really well. I don't remember him being hurt in the Olympics. I know he got dinged up at the end of preseason, right? Didn't he get hurt in the preseason? But don't understand the problem here. Why is Joel Embiid hurt, and why can't anybody give anybody a straight answer about it? Even the head coach was dodging the question the other night, right? He was dodging it. I don't know, whatever. It is what it is. We're going to play without him. So the NBA is going to launch an investigation against the Sixers in violation of the load management rule or the game management, whatever it is. And I hope they find him guilty. I really do. And I hope there's a fine levied. And I hope they, I think what's the fine? It's a monetary fine or a potential loss of a draft pick, I believe, if it's that egregious. And I support the NBA in finding out the truth here. I support the NBA 100% because what happened last night was the Sixers went out on the opening night of the season and got embarrassed. They got embarrassed because they were missing the two most biggest pieces of their puzzle. And yet we're supposed to expect the Sixers to make a deep run into the playoffs. I mean, is that what we're supposed to think? Paul George, who got hurt legitimately at the end of the preseason, was out, and he might now they're saying he might miss a couple more games before he's ready to go. And Joel Embiid with no timetable, no designation, no answers to when he's going to play again. Did he go to the Olympics and then take the rest of the time off? And now he's just trying to get back in game shape? I mean, what's the story here? And how do you guys feel about it? I know there's definitely a and B thing with Joel Embiid in this town. There's a side that completely supports him, and then there's a side who wants to drive him out of here. There is no more neutral ground when it comes to Joel Embiid. You're either on one side or the other. And I want to know because I can kind of look from the outside because, yes, I've been watching and, yes, I've been paying attention, but I don't have a dog in this fight. I've been out on the Sixers for a very, very long time. I've actually forgotten why I'm out on the Sixers. That's how long it's been. I've never believed in Joel Embiid from the very beginning of his time. And he's not going to be the answer to drive this team to a championship. They're not getting past the second round. I don't even think they're going to get past the first round of the playoffs this year. And Maxey, who is a superstar, I guess, in the wings. But is he? Is Tyrese Maxey a person you build a team around? Or is Tyrese Maxey a really good complementary player? Is he the Scottie Pippen to the Michael Jordan? Is he the, what else? I mean, is he the Kevin McHale to Larry Bird? You know, is he the Charles Oakley to Patrick Ewing? Is he just a really good complementary player, or can he stand alone and take a team to a championship? I don't think he can. I don't think he's a superstar. He's not a bench player. He's not a role player. He's a complementary player. He does make a team better when he's on the floor, but he's not a standalone. He is not a guy that you can build around. I don't think. He's not a face of a franchise. He's a co-face of a franchise. And having him in there is probably going to keep the Sixers from getting completely embarrassed every night until they can get those two pieces back. But how much, and the expectations that I see on Maxey, how unrealistic are those that I think? I've never seen anything from Maxey that makes me think that he's a superstar. He's fantastic. He's electric, but he's a complimentary player. He works well when he has somebody else as good or if better with him on the court. He will never drive a team to a championship on his own. He'll be part of the run and a contributor to that run, but he is not the face of the franchise. And if he becomes one day the face of the 76ers, how bad are we? But yeah, the Joel Embiid drama about the injury, lack of an injury, is he faking it? Is he not faking it? Good for the NBA. Launch that investigation, find them guilty, get some money out of them, and embarrass the hell out of Joel Embiid. Was he sitting in a room after the Olympics eating nothing but Arby's? I mean, is that what happened? Did he put a basketball down when he left France? Was that where the Olympics were? Yeah, France. And then never picked up a ball again until like last week, and was like, oh no, I got to get ready for the season? I mean, what's going on? And how much more, and if he's really injured, and maybe that's the worst of this whole scenario, if he's actually hurt, what does that say? I mean, he hasn't really played in 2 months. So, interesting drama around the Philadelphia 76ers as they got blown out of the water last night by the Milwaukee Bucks. And off we go with the Sixers. Championship or not? Is it championship or bust season for the Sixers? Is it? Who's worse off right now in this town? How would you rate the teams that are worse off in this town? The four majors. I mean, would you put the Flyers as the worst team right now in the town, in the city? And worse off meaning like furthest away from a championship. Would you put the Flyers as like number one as the worst or furthest? Who goes number two on that list? Is it the Sixers? I mean, you can make a legitimate argument that it is. Number three, you could probably put either a combination or you can flip-flop the Phillies and Eagles for 3 and 4 as being the closest and second closest to a championship. But the Sixers continue to fall down the depth chart. Flyers, of course, have always been down on the depth chart. They're just kind of hanging where they hang. But the Sixers are now entering new territory as the process continues. Get through another year. So Joel Embiid hurt. Paul George hurt. Sixers get blown out. And off we go for another fantastic basketball season. And here we go. By the way, all this stuff here on the show tonight is brought to you by the good folks over at the It's a Wrap Sports Network. The ones who bring you the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn, the Fighting's Final, Clearing the Ice, and the new show starting next week, the Wraparound with Sal G, will debut next week on the network, November 4th at 7 p.m. Mark your calendars as our boy Sal G will make his debut on the airwaves as a stationary host, a weekly host of a show. Monday at 7, Sal G owns Monday nights. Sal G will rule the Monday evening. So make sure you're here checking him out on the network as he gives you his brand. I have no idea what the show is going to be about, and I have no clue. And I don't want to know, Sal, so don't tell me. We've had preliminary discussions. I gave him the one requirement that I wanted, that you go on the air when you're supposed to, and that's it. Other than that, I gave him complete freedom to do whatever the hell he wants. So what your guess is as good as mine. We're all going to find out at the same time, but I'm sure it's going to be fun to watch. So Can't wait for Sal and his debut. And that leads me, of course, to the Philadelphia Flyers. My favorite topic. I love hockey. I love it, love it, love it, love it. And I got to talk about the Flyers because it seems to be a really hot topic. And I actually kind of like it, man. I like that the Flyers are once again in the conversation. It's not in the good way, of course, but they're in the conversation. When they were really bad and there was no hope and there was no seemingly answers coming, they weren't even in the conversation. People just kind of wrote them off. But based off of what happened with last year and the new ownership of Danny B and Keith Jones and Dan Hilferty and all that, the Flyers have renewed importance in this town. Now, they're still terrible, but yet people are talking about them, so I'll deal with that. I can accept that. Talk negative about them, but just talk about them. And I want to do that tonight with you. So last night, the Flyers lost 6-3 in a game that a lot of people are, kind of furious about. Man, they want some retribution. They want John Tortorella fired. They want Sean Couturier shot out of a cannon. They want Fedotov sent back to Siberia, or wherever the hell he was in the Russian Navy. They want blood. And I'm not going to sit here and argue and tell you that you're wrong. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that your venom is in the wrong direction. Based off of what happened last year and based off of the start of this season, you got a point. But I'm going to give you my point of view. So we're getting all up in arms about a team that's begun the season at 1-5-1, winless in their last 6 games. But we're getting so bent out of shape about a team that started the season out that way because we are feeling let down from the expectations of last year. Now, do I need to remind people that the Flyers didn't make the playoffs last year? I mean, have we forgotten that? The Flyers didn't lose in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, or they didn't get swept in the Stanley Cup Finals. No, they didn't make the playoffs, right? They fell out of the heavens in early March, and they were a solid 6th in the conference on the trade deadline day of March 9th last season. And then they went on a free-for-all and fell out of playoff contention. We're in it to the last game of the season and then didn't make it. So, again, I understand frustration and disappointment. And again, thank you for talking about them. But what exactly did you expect from a team that didn't make the playoffs last year? From a team that's in a second year of a rebuild? We cried for years. We need to start over. We need to burn the bridges and start over again. Well, we have. And this is what a rebuild is. The successes of last season were great. They were fun. But they were tempered all year long. We talked about this on post-game after post-game, show after show. That, yes, they're a fun, exciting product, but they're going absolutely nowhere because they lack the fundamentals of a Stanley Cup winning hockey team. Towards the end of the season, they lack a true number one goaltender. They have no elite offensive talent on the team. They don't have any playmaking centers on the team. They got a team that's consistently full of role players. And they got a team that's very, very young. None of those factors, when you mix them all together, equate a Stanley Cup championship. They don't. They don't. And entering into this season, none of that's changed, with the exception of Michkov, who, yes, will probably at one point find his way to that face of the franchise, to that one half of a Flyers super duo. But it's one half of a super duo. We need another half. We need the other player to go along with Michkov in order to make this thing really work. And, of course, Michkov's got to kind of find his way. And I don't think he won't. Michkov is the real deal. I think he's going to be extremely successful in the NHL level. I am not going to start comparing him to Ovechkin or Fedorov or any of those guys. I ain't doing that. I'm not going down that road anymore. I'm just enjoying what Michkov is becoming as a player. But other than Michkov, we are the exact same team, literally, that stepped off the ice last season. The exact same team that imploded down the stretch last season. What did you think was going to change? And nobody can answer that question. Instead, what do I hear? Fire Tortorella. Okay. I am going to support the coach on this for a couple reasons. And reason number one, what Tortorella has done with this team or with the culture of this team over the last 3 seasons or 2 seasons in 2 weeks, whatever. I don't know if any other coach could have. I don't know if any other coach would have had the patience for it, or I don't know if any other coach who had the experience to do it. Is he the answer going forward long term? He was never the answer going forward long term. That was never part of this deal, and he knew it. We knew it. Management knows it. He was part of the answer for the foreseeable future to get them started on their way to a rebuild. But what do you expect the guy to do? I heard someone here this morning say on a show, I forget what show it was. Somebody said they're poorly coached. What the hell are you talking about? They're poorly coached. Have you looked at the rosters? Have you looked at the players that John Tortorella is working with? The age group, the NHL experience level. What do you mean they're poorly coached? They're being coached fantastically. He's getting every ounce of what these kids have on a night-to-night basis. Or he was. I want to preference that. He was getting that. He brought stuff out of certain players that no other coach had prior to coming here. And potentially, the player didn't even know they could as they moved through the system. Poorly coached is the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard when it pertains to this Flyers team. They are extremely well coached. But again, they're a bunch of friggin' role players. What do you expect them to do? What do you expect this team to do with no superstar talent, no high-end talent? They don't have it. They did not address it in the offseason. They did not have the salary cap to address it. They didn't have the draft capital to address it. They went ahead and they took Jetlichenko at 13, who I don't care who you are. That kid was projected in the higher or like the lower picks of the second round. He was taken way too early, in my opinion. There was better players available on the board for the Flyers, but maybe not at center. But Jetlichenko, to me, was a first-round reach, and I still believe that. And it had nothing to do with his current situation. I just think he was a first-round reach based on what was still on the board, and a board that broke weird from the beginning of the draft. But still, at that position, the Flyers could have addressed, maybe not center. All right? There wasn't really that centerman they didn't really have a centerman left. But they could have addressed another position. The name Cole Eiserman continues to flash in my face. You know, a speedy winger who's got goal-scoring ability, right? But I'm not saying Jetlichenko's a bust. No, I'm not. And I think the handwriting's on the wall. I think he's heading back to the OHL. I think he's going to rejoin Guelph here probably before the weekend's out, or at the very least maybe they give him his 9 games. I don't know, but I think the handwriting is pretty much on the wall. It makes no sense to me why they would bench him 2 straight nights when they're trying to kind of evaluate him. I think the decision's already been made that he probably is going to go back to junior hockey, and that's fine. We don't burn a year in the contract. We gave him a taste. Get him back next year and reevaluate this whole thing. So I'm not really. This is not centered on Jetlichenko at all. This is it was a good news story. He earned the spot out of camp. There's too many problems off the puck with him. He's just having a hard time with the schemes, with the fact that he cannot take a play off at this level and expect not to get burned by it. There's like 5 instances of plays where he took the play off or he didn't see the play through, and he ended up getting burned on it. So once he figures that out and he works his game into that, he'll be fine. But I'm okay with Jetlichenko going back down. There's no real issues there. But still, getting back to the Flyers, there's no high-end offensive talent on this team. It's just a bunch of role players who might have overachieved a little bit last year. And what are the problems that we're dealing with? We're dealing with shots, volume, right? They were a shot-taking machine in last season. 37 shots a game, I believe, was their final totals of last year. They're below 30 right now for a game. And when they are getting into the zone, which has been an adventure in itself, trying to get into the offensive zone, if they don't turn it over, which they are doing in like waves this year, 94 take the giveaways through 6 or 7 games. Over 13 a game. They're turning the puck over 13 times a game in their offensive zone. Terrible. Absolutely 100% terrible. But once they do get in the zone and they don't turn it over, they cannot finish. and their offensive game is pushed out. It's a perimeter offensive game. There's nothing happening in front of the nets. There's nobody crashing nets. There's no pucks being sent to the front of the net. We don't have that type of player. We didn't have it last year. We don't have it this year. What do you expect John Tortorella to do? Please, I'm all ears. He's getting the best he can out of some of these players. Now, are they starting to waver? Are they starting to not listen? I don't know the answer to that question. But judging how they came out to start that Capital game last night and how lethargic and slow they were and seemingly uninterested in playing in that game until they were down 4-0 and realized they better do something or they're going to get embarrassed. But judging by that, it's seeming like maybe he is starting to lose the room a little bit. Maybe players are starting to not listen anymore. The benching, the constant players being benched, disciplinary action or holding a player accountable by not making a player play, it works if you do it sporadically and if you do it when you take your moments. If you're benching somebody new every night, the message is going to get lost and it's going to start turning into like a little little game, right? So the constant benching needs to stop. We need to come up with a lineup, and he needs to roll with them. And what he needs to also do with that lineup is put them on set lines. I'm not saying you can't move a line from 1 to 4 or 4 to 3 or 2 to 4 or 2 to 1. I'm not saying you can't move the lines, but keep the players on the same line and just move the lines around. I've never seen a team more than the Flyers over the recent past couple of seasons, and it's justified. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bagging on it saying it's wrong and you can't do that. It's justified because we don't have offensive talent. He's trying to figure out who these players are. He's trying to see if so-and-so works better with so-and-so. And it's a process. So I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's getting a little old. And you got to make a decision here, I think, at a certain point. If they're going to go down in flames, let them go down in flames with some continuity. Because this is just ridiculous. Every night it's a different line combination. Every night it's a different defensive grouping. Every night it's something different. I don't care if the Michkov, Couturier, Travis Konechny line is the first line tonight or the fourth line 3 nights from now, just as long as they stay together as a line. You know what I'm saying? I think we've seen enough of this line moving around and getting shifted and moved and all that, and I just don't think it works, for good or for bad. Again, I understand what the team is. Goaltending. Now, this is something that reared its ugly head last year that wasn't expected. The Flyers don't have a number 1 goalie. They don't. Sam Erson's not a number 1. He's not. He's a very good backup, and he's going to have a career at this level. He's a very good goaltender, but I don't feel that he can handle the burden of being the starter. He can't. I just don't think he will. Fedotov is not a backup. He's not. He had an okay game last night, but nothing really to get excited about. He's still letting that 5-hole open up way too long, way too wide. Teams are still exploiting his size against him. So the Flyers they're gonna have to figure out the goaltending situation. But what else are you gonna do? You got 7 goalies in the system. They were at least had the hindsight and saw the accident coming with Carter Hart to go out and draft back-to-back goalies 2 years ago in the draft. But it's going to take time for those guys to kind of figure themselves out. It's going to take time for these prospects to work themselves through the system. There's nothing else you can do. But they have no goaltending. They got a backup and a kid that's not ever going to be anything right now at this level. Tyson Forrester. Let me address Tyson friggin' Forrester. I'm not a Tyson Forrester guy. I think Tyson Forrester is a bottom 3, maybe 4th line forward. Tyson Forrester does nothing for me. Tyson Forrester is the Rhys Hoskins of the Flyers. He'll go red hot for a week, score you 3 goals with 4 assists, and then you won't hear from him for 2 months. I don't understand the love affair for Tyson Forrester. He's a player, yeah. He's an NHL level player, but he's a bottom line kind of guy. And what I get when I say that, I get these cross-eyed looks. Are you crazy? He's an offensive machine. I'm like, what are you talking about, offensive machine? He had 20 goals last year. Yeah, he had 20 goals, but did you see the droughts he would go in? Well, yeah, but Tortorella loves him away from the puck, all the work he does in the corner. Okay, well, that's perfectly fine down there on the fourth line, right? That's exactly what those guys do, right? They're muckers and they're grinders. Put him down, and I'm not maybe saying on the fourth line, third line. He's a third line guy. So I ran some numbers last year, just to see maybe I'm crazy. So the final 10 games of the season last year for Tyson Forrester, he started one game. He started 3 games on the first line, 2 games, 3 games on the second line, 3 games on the third line, and he had 1 game where he started on the fourth line last year in the last 10 games of the season. This is his offensive output the last 10 games. When he was on the first line, he had no goals, no assists, and 10 shots. Second line, he had 1 goal, no assists, and 4 shots. Third line, 1 goal, no assists, and 5 shots. On the fourth line, no goals, no assists, but 25 shots. I mean, he was getting opportunities down the fourth line. Why don't you give him opportunities? Maybe he'll score. I'm not on board with Tyson Forrester. Not in the least bit. I feel like he's a competent player. But the love affair that this city has for this guy right now, or more importantly, that the Flyer fans have for Tyson Forrester, is fool's gold. I'm just not buying him. I'm not buying him as a top line guy. I'm buying him as a bottom line guy. I believe he belongs on the team, but I don't think he's a player that we should hitch our star to in terms of wanting to think he's going to produce this amazing offensive output. So it leaves me to the positives of the Flyers, because I'm not going to come at you with negatives and not come at you with positives, because there's been some positives of this team in the early going. And the first positive is obviously Michkov. So far, so good with Michkov. He is definitely figuring things out at the NHL, but he's figuring it out at an elite level. He's scoring along the way. He's getting involved in the plays along the way. He's a focal point of the line, whatever line he's on. He's a focal point of that line. His 5-on-5 play needs to improve. Obviously, when the team goes up 1 or 4v4 or whatever, the ice opens up a little bit more for him, which is he's a little bit more accustomed to that wide open ice in the KHL. He needs to kind of get a little bit more consistent with that 5v5 NHL level offense. And once he figures how to score 5v5, forget about it, man. Michkov's going to be a dynamo. But definitely a good news story up to this point. Sean Couturier. That's right. I said it. Sean Couturier, to me, has been a great news story to start the season. I got it. His offensive numbers are garbage. He is not a goal scorer anymore. Maybe he's a 10-goal guy. Maybe 15 if we're lucky. But what I've seen Sean Couturier do off the puck to start the season has been simply inspiring as a captain, as a leader. Last night, I put out 2 little short videos on the YouTube channel a little bit earlier, highlighting what he did last night by facilitating 2 goals, one by Michkov and one by Tippett, by being a screen in front. Listen, hockey is not all about putting the puck in the net, or I should say it is about putting the puck in the net, but it's not always about your individual numbers. It's about how you play a team game. And Sean Couturier, with the lack of offense, is still playing a team game. He's still playing like a leader. He is being that leader. And yeah, okay, is his offensive skills pretty much shot to hell? Yeah, they are. Are we paying for something that he's never going to be again? Yeah, and I'm going to get to that situation here in a second. But his off the puck play has been great. And he's exactly what this young team needs. An older, experienced leader. But the problem is, we can't build around him, right? His day is gone. Maybe 2 more years, maybe 3. I don't know. The contract's going to dictate a little longer, obviously. But he's perfect for what the Flyers need right now. Is he part of the future? He's absolutely not. But for people to be bagging on Sean Couturier and saying he's garbage and he sucks, you don't know what you're looking at. I suggest you sit down and actually learn the sport of hockey and figure out how the game is actually played. That it's not just about scoring goals. It's about the other things that go into scoring goals that make you what you are as a hockey player. And yes, players get older. And yes, skills diminish. And yes, Goal scoring goes away, but he's still going out there like a leader should, and he's leading the team every night. So I am not going to rag on Sean Couturier. There's far too bigger fish to fry than Sean Couturier. So he's a positive in my aspect. And then Sam Ersson, to Sam Ersson's credit, through the times that he's been in net, has been solid. But I just don't think he's going to make it through the season. I think he's going to dip again, and unfortunately, we don't have anybody behind him, and that's pretty much what might be the downfall of this team. And then the last positive thing is the power play. I heard on another show this morning that the Flyers' power play was god-awful. What are you looking at? They're 7 for 29 on the power play. Do you know when they scored their 7th power play goal last year? January 18th is when they scored their 7th power play goal last year. So don't give me that crap the Flyer power play is terrible. It is not. It is vastly improved. And matter of fact, if it hadn't been for the Flyers power play, the goal scoring would really be bad. Because the Flyers have scored, 16 goals, and 7 of them have been on the power play? So that's almost half of your goal production gone because I can't score 5-on-5. So if it hadn't been for the power play being as effective as it is, this team would be worse off than they are. So again, to the people who think the Flyers power play is god-awful, first of all, you haven't been watching this team that much to make that statement. Because if you want to see a really bad power play, what a bad power play is, go ahead and rewatch last season and then come back and talk to me about a bad power play. All right? This team is operating at over 26% right now on the power play. 26%. They were 12.2 last year. So I am not going to rag on the Flyer power play. Their penalty kill is par for the course. They're like at 89%. The giveaways are out of control. 94 giveaways through 7 games. Their shot production is down. Their goal scoring is down. They are what they were when they got off the ice last year. And then the last thing, obviously, what do we do? What do we do? Well, there's a couple options, right? Option number 1, we sit and we wait. That's the easy answer, right? We sit and we wait. We sit and we wait till these players figure themselves out. We sit and we wait to find out what these players really are, right? But now, for those of you that don't have the patience for that, which I am one, there's got to be a better answer than sitting and we wait, is there? Well, judging by the Flyers salary cap situation, I don't see it. So I went back and did some research again today. Here are the contracts that the Flyers... I went back and looked at Chuck Fletcher and how bad Chuck Fletcher really was. And really, what did he do to this team? And I was astonished. I for some reason, I didn't really put it all together till today. But these are the long-term contracts Chuck Fletcher gave out during his tenure that we're still stuck with today. Scott Lawton and Travis Sanheim, Ryan Ellis, of course, he inherited that contract. Joel Farabee, Sean Couturier, Risto, and Nick Deloria. Those are the long-term contracts, and none of them are coming off the books. I think the first one to come off the books is Ellis in 2 years. But those are the long-term contracts that Chuck Fletcher gave out while he was GM of the Flyers. Now, to make matters even worse, and because Danny B don't get a pass either, these are the long-term contracts Danny Briere has given out since he's been GM. Travis Konechny, Owen Tippett, and Nick Seeler. To be honest with you, there's not one name amongst any of those players, to include Sean Couturier, that deserve a long-term contract. That would not, and let me rephrase that deserve a Flyers long-term contract. Every single one of those players should have been or should be dealt to assist and aid in this rebuild, in clearing up some of this cap. I thought the Travis Konechny contract was ridiculous. An 8-year contract for a guy that's not... By the time that the Flyers become a uber competitive team, he's going to be well past his prime. I still don't understand the TK contract. Don't get me started on the damn Scott Lawton. Don't get me started on the Tippett, the Joel Farabee deals. Those were terrible contracts. The Flyers have oodles of terrible contracts, and none of them are coming off the books not for a couple of more seasons. So free agency's out. Heading into next year, if next season were to start today, The Flyers would have the 22nd most salary cap room in the NHL. I believe their numbers. Let me look them up. I pulled them up. And where are they? I left them up here. Let me guess. Did not. All right. Where is it? Yeah, 22nd in the league right now with contracts heading into next season. The Anaheim Mighty Ducks, they have the most. They have the most salary cap room heading into next season. The Flyers have the 22nd most heading into next season. Somebody tell me what you can do with the 22nd most salary cap heading into next season. Anaheim will have $50 million in cap room next year. The Flyers will have $13 million in cap room next year. $13 million. The Flyers will have $13 million to play around with next season to sign free agents. I don't think that's going to bring any free agents next year. Flyers talk about getting better with the cap, and it will slowly. And it's not going to happen next year. So what's option 2? Free agency's out. We ain't going to be players in free agency again next year because of these god-awful contracts, to include Travis Konechny's and Nick Seeler's. So what's option number 2? Let's trade some players. 100%. So I went through, and I did this years ago. Actually, I did this about this time last year. And here, to me, are the tradable assets for the Philadelphia Flyers as we sit here on this October 24th. Sean Couturier, Morgan Frost, Travis Konechny, Joel Farabee, Scott Laughton, Ryan Poehling, Garnet Hathaway, Travis Sanheim, Nick Seeler, and Ristolainen are my 100%. I am listening to any and all offers for teams that want to acquire them. Now, when you sign Travis Konechny to an 8-year Uber contract, I don't know who the hell is going to be calling you about Travis Konechny. I really don't. No one's going to take that money. Scott Laughton is probably the most movable player you have right now. And honestly, what offense is Scott Laughton bring? Scott Laughton he's a true bottom 6 forward, right? And I don't care about his political beliefs. I don't care what he does off the ice. That's his business. But on the ice, he's just not doing it. So he's probably your most movable asset right now. The contract situation, Joel Farabee. Joel Farabee gets paid $5 million a year. $5 million a year he makes for nothing to provide no offense. That was a Chuck Fletcher contract. A terrible contract. The Flyers are going to have to eat that. No one's taking that money off the Flyers' hands for Joel Farabee. And Ristolainen. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. So, free agency's out. Trading might be limited. You might be able to move Laughton in. If you get really creative with sucking money, with eating contracts, maybe you can get rid of Farabee. But how are you going to do? How are you going to do? How are you going to do it? Unless you trade some of those untouchable players, some of those players that you're banking on to be part of your future. Bobby Brink, Cam York, Drysdale, players like that. Are those might be the players you might have to move. Or maybe you throw in the Scott Laughton and you toss Bobby Brink in as a sweetener. There was a report coming out that I saw the other day that the Flyers were very close on draft day to making a deal with the Columbus Blue Jackets for the 4th overall pick. A trade that involved Cam York, Bobby Brink, and Joel Farabee. But for some reason it didn't work out. I would have been over the moon with that trade. But how are you going to trade your way out of this? Option D. I'm going to say it. You got to tank. The Flyers have a lot of draft capital the next season. A lot of it. 2 first-round picks. I think 2 second-round picks. James Higgins is hanging out there. The consensus number 1 draft pick this year, the next greatest thing. He plays for the Boston College Eagles. Go check him out. Number 10. Been watching him. Actually, been watching him since last year when he was with the NTDP of the USHL. But he is the next greatest thing, and he is the consensus number 1 overall. Is this the year you tank without tanking? And I mean that. Tank without tanking. You put out your best foot forward, and your best is not good enough, but you just don't make any moves. You just roll them out night after night, day after day, and you let things happen. So I don't see a way out through free agency. I'm having a hard time seeing my way through trading. And the only option I'm seeing legitimate is tanking. Is trying to get a high draft pick, which, of course, the Flyers have not done at all well in their franchise history. Have only had the number 1 overall pick one time in their illustrious, whatever, since 67. So I say all that to say this. It's a rebuild. It's year 2. So climb down off of your Flyer mountain. Climb down off Mount Expectation. Because there is no expectations for this team right now. It's a rebuild. And eventually, it's going to get to a point where John Tortorella is probably his pop is going to blow, and he's going to go off on the reporters and tell them something to the effect of, "Shut up, it's a rebuild." It's a rebuild. We had such high expectations of the Flyers entering this season based on a team that didn't make the playoffs last year. What is that all about? People have playoff expectations of a team that didn't make the playoffs last year. About a team that imploded for the last month and a half of the season and worked their way out of a playoff position. But everybody's expectation, with the entire team returning intact, with the exception of MattyB and Mitchkoff, people have expectations of the Flyers to make the playoffs. Tell me how that works. It makes no sense to me. The Flyers are what they are. They got to go out and they got to play every minute, every game, every second, every puck, every faceoff, every shot, every dump in, every penalty, every power play like it's their last. And they can't take plays off. And maybe if the puck bounces our way, we find ourselves in a playoff position or competing for a playoff position down the stretch. But to get so pissed off about your hockey team struggling, they're year 2 of a rebuild. The Band-Aid's been ripped off. It was ripped off 2 years ago. They're going to fight their way back, but it's going to take time. So that was my Flyers 2 cents. I had to put that in there because I'm tired of hearing some of the, and I'm going to say it, and I don't mean no disrespect, the ignorant hockey takes that are going on out there that are expecting the Flyers to be something that they're not. You tell me who the scorers on this team. You tell me who the bona fide offensive firepower players are on this team. And then maybe I'll have a discussion with you. But you can't tell me those players, or you can't tell me who those players are because we don't have them. And until we do, all this is just, I don't know, this is just filler until we get to the good stuff. So Flyers are going to keep churning it out, and I'm going to be with them. But people got to take a step back. They got to take a step back. But with that being said, let's transition to our Prospect of the Week segment. We do this bi-weekly. Earlier in the week, we profiled Oliver Bonk, who I think will be a key part in the Flyer blue line of the future. Maybe he replaces Igor friggin' Zamula. Get rid of that guy. But we're going to do that twice a week. And then when we get into the draft time, when the NHL draft starts kicking up, because trust me, I'm already preparing it. When the NHL draft time starts kicking up, probably around January, we're going to start profiling a draft target of the week, as well as when in January we're going to start spotlighting the Phillies, as we're going to start ramping up for 2025, and as well as spotlighting an MLB draft target of the week. So we're going to start really ramping up our prospect player cards on the show every week. But we're going to do our second Flyer prospect, and our Flyer prospect of the night tonight is Alex Chernick, a left wing / right wing combo. He's a left-handed shot. Plays for the Nybro Vikings of the HA, some foreign league. Drafted in the 4th round of 2023. Chernick is 5'10 and 179 pounds. Every single bit like the 5'9 or 5'10, 179 pound foot winger would be. Speed. He is all about offense. Problem is, it's a little undersized. He plays in a fast league in Europe, so he actually makes a difference there. The question and the concerns about Chernick are also always going to be how he will be on this smaller ice, and will he be able to fight his way out or speed his way out of tight situations in order to kind of utilize that world-class speed. But so far through, I believe it's 8 games this year, with his team, the Vikings, Chernick has scored. He's got 4 goals, 4 assists for 8 points, and a gaudy +5. So obviously, when he's on the ice, they're scoring goals, and it makes and I can see why. I mean, he's a facilitator. He creates plays with his feet. He's got a great shot. He's got, as it says here in the little bio here, he can weave through neutral zone defenses with crossover heavy rush, and that's really good. Problem is, does it translate? Does it translate to the NHL ice? Does his frame translate to the NHL ice? But we'll see. Chernick was drafted in the 4th round, 2023, light years away from being a Flyer, but he is your Flyer prospect of the night. And that was brought to you by, once again, the It's a Wrap Sports Network and all the great programming we have here on the program. Tomorrow, don't forget, 3:30, the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn will be seen then, as we had to reschedule due to some scheduling issues. And but we're looking forward to it. Can't wait. All right. Final segment of the night. We got to the end of the week. Wow. This, of course, is my all-time favorite segment, even though I've only been doing it twice. Or this is like my 4th time doing it. Love this segment. Love it. What's going on, Pat? How you doing? This is my favorite segment of our young show. We started it this week. It's going to be a daily segment on the program. We're going to wrap up pretty much every show with this segment. But this is a play off of my infatuation with collecting sports cards since I was a kid. Again, I'm not going to get into the whole story. Maybe I'll post it up on a bio story somewhere. But long story short, after hauling around my card collection for the last 40 years, this summer I sat down finally and actually for the very first time completely organized my trading cards along with my stepsons. We merged our collections together. We organized every single card. Turns out we have a collection collectively of over 500,000 sports cards, both football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. So I am going to choose a card a night, and we are going to profile it here on the program. Again, we started it on Sunday or Monday. We've done Ken Griffey's Topps rookie card. We did Pete Rose's manager card, or Pete Rose's player card from '87. And last night we did Fernando Valenzuela as a tribute, obviously, to him. It was his '89 Dunross card. Tonight, I'm going to jump into a different sport. We're going to get away from baseball tonight. We're going to head into a different sport. But before we do that, what do they say? Or what I'm going to say is key the music, because we got a good little intro.
Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. What? Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
All right, that's right. MattyB's card review here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network on the Final Word. And tonight, as I mentioned, we're switching out of baseball tonight. We're going to head into the world of basketball. Basketball card collecting has definitely undergone a metamorphosis over the last few years, last 20, 25 years or so. Back when I was a kid, it wasn't that popular, which might answer the question of why this particular year's cards are so popular. But I'm going to go all the way back to 1987 and Fleer. The 87-88 Fleer basketball collection, the basketball set, which has turned out to be one of the most sought-after card sets in basketball. If you happen to find a pack of 87 Fleer, you're going to either find a Larry Bird, a Kevin McHale, a Magic Johnson, a Charles Barkley, a Charles Oakley, a Pat Ewing, a Michael Jordan, Ron Harper, Karl Malone, John Stockton. I mean, the names go on and on and on. And maybe that's because maybe that's the reason why they're so popular, because just about every card is of Hall of Fame players or Hall of Fame caliber players. And I'm going to highlight one card from the 87 Fleer collection. And that card is, let's pull it up for you. Let's get it ready to go. The 87 Fleer Larry Bird card. Yep. So Larry Bird in 86, 87, which were the stats were pulled for this card, I believe was in his 9th year of the league. 9th year. So this is not his rookie card. This is nowhere near his rookie card. But this card here is apparently one of the most sought-after basketball cards in all of basketball card collecting. If you are lucky enough to find yourself holding a 87 Fleer Larry Bird PSA 10, then you're looking at some buku money. One sold, a PSA 10, sold at auction back in the summer for $33,000. An 87-88 Larry Bird Fleer card PSA 10 sold for $33,000 at an auction back in the summer. Simply astonishing that a card featuring a player in his 10th year in the league, it's not a Larry Bird rookie, it's far from a Larry Bird rookie, would sell for that much. On the market right now, if you were just to try to move this card as a raw card. Now, we all know that the cards are coming, they come in PSA grading of either 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, all the way down. Or you could have a raw, you could try to sell a card raw, which means it has not been graded. And when you do that, obviously there's some risk. But I've looked around. So some of the cards that I found on here on the internet, and I use a reputable site. Let's pull up one of the cards. So base cards, raw Larry Bird cards, non-auction cards, you're looking at about a $40 basketball card for this particular model, for this particular year, this particular card. Now, if we're talking PSA 9 or 8 or 10, it gets a little bit different. And I'm going to pull up the info on Larry on one of the apps that I use just to kind of gauge what I have. Just what I use. It's, again, this is not a science. Nowhere near a science. But so here we go. There's a PSA 9. Right now, PSA 9 sold last week for $350. Again, this is not auction. This is just trying to sell. Now let's pull up a PSA 10. All right, here we go. I got a PSA 10 sold for $6,100 on October the 1st. $6,100 on October the 1st. PSA 10 sold for $3,300 back on February 12th. $3,300 back on November 19th, 2022. $3,700 back on September 27th, 2022. So it's remarkable how this card, and it's not exclusive to Larry Bird's 87 Fleer. Just about every one of the 87 Fleer cards, if you pull them, is going to be a moneymaker. Here's the actual physical card right here. It's out of my collection. I have 3 of them. I have 3 Larry Bird 87 Fleers. None of them are 10s. This card might be the best one I have. Maybe there's some edge damage. There's some edge damages on 2 of the edges. Centering's pretty good. The quality's pretty good. This is maybe a 6, maybe a 7. I don't know what the other 2 are, but I own 3 Larry Bird cards out of that set. And but it's amazing that this card sells, and all the cards are 87 Fleer. And as we move through my collection, we're going to talk about a lot of the 87 cards because I got a lot of them. Now, the one card out of the 87 Fleer that I don't have, of course, is the card everybody wants, is the Michael Jordan one. And not only the Jordan card, but the Jordan sticker from 87 Fleer is very, very lucrative. It's just amazing to me how this set of cards, this one set, 87 Fleer, is just so lucrative. There's a Detlef Schrempf. You guys remember Detlef Schrempf, right, from the Dallas Mavericks? Remember that guy? German player, right? It's just, what was he, a 6th man, 8th man guy coming off the bench? He's actually pretty good. His 87 Fleer, which I have 2 of, one sold on October 1st for $125. Detlef Schrempf. Now, I'm sorry. In 87, if you pull a Detlef Schrempf out of a pack, that thing is going right into your bike spokes. You're not thinking twice about that, man. It's going to go lined up right next to your Kelly Trapuka card. But Detlef Schrempf, man, pulling big money. And so is the Larry Bird card that we featured here tonight. Now, I've said this on this show, and I'll say it as I go through. It's not all about the money for me. Some of these cards, and as I've gone through the collection this summer when I was putting them all in order and organizing them all, as I was running through certain cards, certain memories of my childhood were coming back to me. Certain cards elicited certain memories from when I was a kid. And that is probably the number one thing that I get from this. Is not necessarily the financial value of card collecting. It's just the nostalgia of it all. And as we move through this segment and we do this more and more, maybe we'll get some people on that can really talk the talk when it comes to sports cards. But this is our card tonight, the 87 Fleer Larry Bird that sold for $6,100 not too long ago, if you're lucky enough to have a PSA 10. Now, of course, I have all raw cards. Now, if there's anybody out there that wants to trade with me and wants to come on and we can do a segment where we trade some cards, I'm down. I have a lot of Judges, a lot of Sotos, a lot of Otanis, a lot of Jeters, to include a 93 Jeter Topps draft card that's worth, I think, a pretty good penny. I would definitely do that with you. But on this show, it would be just for trading, of course, card for card. But yeah, here's my 87 Bird Fleer from my collection to wrap up our MattyB card review for the week. So fun segment. I enjoy it. Next week, we'll do it all over again, and we'll do some more cards. So we'll have some more fun with it. But that is going to probably take me to the end of my program tonight, and that means the end of our broadcasting week here on the Final Word. A little bit of programming note, as I mentioned, tomorrow you'll have the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn. Me and Kyle will come on and give you a proper in-depth preview of the Eagle-Bengal game, as well as a review of the Eagle-Giant game. We'll talk a little bit of NFL trade deadline stuff. What's Howie Roseman going to do? Is Howie a buyer or seller at the trade deadline? If the Eagles lose this week and next week, are the Eagles sellers at the trade deadline? Have you looked at the Eagle draft capital heading into this season? Before, of course, all the compensation picks are factored in. The Eagles got a first, a second, a third, a fourth, and 3/5. That's their draft class in 2025. So does Howie even have the draft capital to make any kind of moves? Or is this going to be another Linville Joseph type of trade deadline for the Eagles? And is that the kind of players that the Eagles need right now to make all their Super Bowl dreams come true? So we'll talk maybe some trade deadline with Kyle tomorrow. We'll definitely get into the game from last week. And then, of course, this upcoming game against the Bengals. On Saturday, we got the Fighting's fine. We got the Clear the Ice coming at you at 4 p.m. Flyers Wild post game. Sal will have you. On Sunday, I'll be back for the Flyer Canadian post game on Sunday night. There will be no Final Word on Sunday night because I have the post game. So there'll just be the post game. And then we'll be back for the Final Word on Monday to start our week. So I want to thank everybody. And remember, please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell your friends' friends, tell your friends' friends about the It's a Wrap Sports Network. It is the future of Philadelphia sports. It is the future because where others have failed, I will succeed. I will succeed. I will not quit. This will never die. I will see it to the end, the bitter end, my last dying breath. As they're shoveling dirt over my face, I'll be doing a live show. So this is going to go to the end, all right? This will never die. So please, help a brother out, all right? Come on, man. Man, just click the button. That's all you got to do. I'm not asking for money. Just click the damn button and help me out. But we're growing this thing, and big things will happen for this network. We're coming, and we're coming for the big boys, and that is my ultimate goal. Again, where others have failed, I will succeed. And I want you to be along for the journey with me. So Sal G starting the wraparound next Tuesday or Monday the 4th of November. Sal's new show will debut on the network. Sal will be the first show on our network not involving me, which is great. And that's a start. So Sal's coming along for the ride. Those of you out there that want to be content creators, want to do this, want to sit in front of a microphone and be people's sources of hatred and sources of criticism, man, I love it. That's all I had to hear, and then I was all in. But if you think you're one of those people, give me a holler, and we'll see what we can do. Again, somebody gave me a chance a long time ago, and now I'm prepared and willing to give other people chances. So hit me up, drop me a line, and we'll see where we can take this. We will talk again on Sunday night for the fight. Said it again. Actually, we'll talk tomorrow for Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn. But as far as the final word, that is going to wrap us up for the week. We will see you again next week on the program. Until then, enjoy the rest of your night and have a better tomorrow.